What is up, you guys? Shannon from Aquariums here. In this video I'm just going to be basically taking you on my weekly routine of feeding some of my animals. So we're going to start with my fish. So for the fish, I'm referring to the big aquarium I've got in my lounge room. Some of you may know of it, the one with the Saratoga in it. Now there's a lot of ways you can feed large fish. You can buy commercial food. If that works for you, that's fine. A lot of the commercial fish foods are, very high in nutrition, so a very good option to feed your fish. My Saratoga, however, is a very fussy feeder. He won't take pellets or any sort of dried fish food. Doesn't even like the frozen fish food. I have to make his food fresh, otherwise he won't eat anything. I've tried weaning him onto pellets, but yeah, he won't take them, and I give up. So I'll show you guys what I feed him. Okay, so what I got here, this is basically scallops and prawns. So what I do, I just get some scallops, dice them up, I dice up some prawns, and all I do, put them into a bowl. From there, I add some of this. This is garlic guard made by Seachem. I'll leave a link under this video to our website. You can purchase this. And I put some garlic guard in there. Like that. Just mix that up. Alright, what I'll do, I'll let that sit for about 20 minutes. About 20 minutes to half an hour. Just so the garlic can absorb into the prawns and the scallop. Then what I'll do, I'll just get some freezer bags, or you can get the Ziploc sandwich bags, they work fine. Put that in the sandwich bag, flatten it out so it's a nice thin square, and then freeze it. Snap off bits as I need it, defrost them and feed them off. I highly recommend garlic guard for any type of fish food if you can mix it into it. It has a lot of really beneficial properties to it. I mean, other than the fact that just the general garlic smell, it triggers a feeding response in fish. So if you've got fish that are not eating, you buy a new fish, it's having trouble settling into your tank and it won't feed on anything. Sometimes just soaking the food in some garlic guard will trigger that feeding response. Just the smell of the garlic does that, and also I'm sure that it makes the food taste a little better as well. So yeah, other than that, it does help deter parasites as well. They don't like the garlic, and the garlic also strengthens the fish's immune system. So all around it's a good product to put into your fish food if you can use that. So yeah, as I said, I let this soak, freeze it in a sandwich bag. I flatten it out and then freeze it, and that's basically it. I'll usually make a much bigger batch than this. This will last me maybe a week with my fish, but usually I'll make about a month's worth and just freeze little bags of it and go from there. So yes, you will notice there is a fair bit on the bottom. The only reason I put so much in, so I have a decent amount on the bottom, is 90% of the fish in this tank are bottom feeders. The only two surface feeders I've got are the Saratoga and he just proved me wrong then by taking it off the bottom. But yeah, the Saratoga and the snakehead gudgeon. This guy here, which he'll eat off the bottom too. But I mean, yeah, most of my fish are bottom feeders, and you can't even see them all at the moment. Sometimes they come out, sometimes they don't. The ones that are out, I mean, that guy there, my longfin eel, yeah, he's always happy to come out and stuff his face. I have 2 Tandanus catfish. That guy right there, pressed up in the wood, that's a Colombian wood catfish. I've got 2 of those as well, which they don't often come out. Also over here, you can just see his tail. Got a Synodontis catfish in the wood there. So yeah, got a few bottom feeders as well. Also, a newest addition to my tank, which he's not quite eating yet. Well, he's not eating the frozen yet. He's only eating live. So I'm going to wean him off that. Is this guy here? He's half buried in the sand, but yeah, I've got a little Matoro stingray. Go around this way, get a better view if I can. So yeah, he's I've only had him excuse me, I've only had him a couple of weeks, so he's still settling. He's not quite used to being with other fish, especially fish that are bigger than him. Yeah, basically he came out of a tank that he was on his own in for over a year, so yeah, he's still adapting to this tank. But I mean, he eats live blackworms. At the moment, I am just trying to wean him onto, you know, frozen food, because I'm giving him his blackworms for now, but I don't want to be doing that long term. It's just impractical. So yeah, I always have a lot of fun feeding these guys. Also, you'll find with especially Saratogas, and you'll notice my snakehead gudgeon, he's quite orange. Even for a snakehead gudgeon, he's got some nice orange in him. I put it down to diet. That goes for any fish. I mean, you feed a fish cheap, nasty food, it's not going to have nice colours. You feed them good quality fish food, they're going to colour up to their full potential. So yeah, and then that's what I mean, like, I buy fresh food for my fish only. I don't even buy my prawns from bait shops. They're food grade prawns, same as the scallops. The reason for that is prawns especially. In the past, I've had other things. I've had an epaulet shark, and I used to feed him bait prawns, which seemed fine at the time. He'd eat them, no problem. But he eventually died, and I had one of the guys I work with had a stingray that died feeding the same prawns. We both found out later on that some of the bait shops will put something, I don't know what, they put something on their prawns to stop the heads going black so they can keep them for longer, you know, out on display in the bait shop. And yeah, over a long term eating that, I guess it does eventually end up causing problems to the fish, and as far as the shark and the stingray were concerned, it just killed them. So from that moment on, I no longer bought prawns from bait shops. I only buy food grade prawns for my fish. If you can get your fish to eat any sort of shellfish, like prawns or krill, if you can get your fish to eat that with the shell left on the crustacean, that's actually the better way to go. Mine won't, so I have to buy the bags of pre-peeled ones. But the reason I say that is because prawn shells have keratin in them. Basically, they're made of keratin. And that's basically what enhances that red colour. So, yeah, if you can get them to eat shellfish, especially with the shells on, any hot colours in the fish, so your reds and your oranges and yellows, stuff like that, all those sorts of colours, they will be enhanced dramatically from that. That's probably why my snakehead gudgeon's a bit orange. Saratoga, He's got some orange in him. It's hard to tell, you know, through the camera. But when I got him, his pectoral fins, see how they're quite red now? When I got him, those pectoral fins weren't red. They were just kind of grey colour. So his pectorals have at least coloured up. And even his scales, like he's got, again, it's not the best angle for this, but he does have orange in his scales. The camera just doesn't really pick it up that well. You can kind of see it. But I've noticed that since I've had him, the colours in his scales and his fins have enhanced a bit since feeding him prawns. So in case anyone's wondering what type of Saratoga this is, it's a Lycardi. I would have preferred to have a Giardini, but we can't seem to get them anymore in Australia, or at least not in New South Wales. I was quite lucky to get this guy actually, at the size that he is. And he's already ready for round 2. That's why he's not swimming around, he's just hanging in front of the camera. He wants more food. Yeah, this is by far my favourite fish. Out of all the fish I've had, you can kind of see the orange there. He's got to be on the right angle for it. So, yeah. When I first got him, he wouldn't eat anything either. He was very, very timid. Wouldn't take even frozen food or live food, nothing. It took about a month and a half before he started eating, and even then he was very finicky. He would only eat crickets and woodies, and that's it. He wouldn't eat any frozen. After maybe 3 months, he started taking frozen. Now I've had him about 8 months to a year, and yeah, he'll take anything I put in front of him. He'll even take small mice if I give them to him. Like, because I do have snakes, so if there's like a frozen mouse I've thawed out that one of my snakes won't want to eat and no one wants it, I'll give it to the Saratoga. He'll quite happily eat that. I think he actually prefers that opposed to, you know, the frozen foods. So that's basically me feeding this tank. We'll move on to the next animal now. Okay guys, so now we're going to be feeding this guy. This is my ridgetail monitor, and what we feed him is basically mice. So specifically he eats fuzzy mice. He was eating pinkies, but since he's grown a bit he's now onto fuzzies. I just give him 2 mice per feed, because you don't want to overfeed monitor lizards, they just tend to get a bit sluggish. I tend to keep him a little bit lean at times and just feed him 2 to 3 times a week, between 1 and 2 fuzzies, depending on how he looks. If he looks a bit fat still, I'll just give him 1 instead of 2, but yeah, he can have 2 today. Also during winter time with any reptile, they will eat less than in the summer, just because colder weather, their metabolism slows down like everything else does in the cold weather for them. So therefore they're not going to want to eat as much. So we'll jump straight into feeding him. With any monitor lizard, you want to feed them with tongs. You don't want to hand feed them as well. Just because you don't want them associating your hands with food and them accidentally biting you. Because monitors have pretty sharp teeth. Even a little fella like this, he'd still draw blood. He's got pretty sharp teeth. So we'll just see if he's interested in some food today. I mean, ideally, also, you don't want to be giving these guys just pinky mice. Pinkies, that's all well and good, but they are quite high in fat, so you want to give them other things here and there just to break up their diet. Monitor lizards are strictly carnivorous, so to mix up their diet, you can give them crickets, you can give them woodies, superworms, mealworms. Sometimes even I've given him prawn actually. It's not really planned to give him prawn. It's just sometimes if I'm feeding my fish tank, and I'm giving the Saratoga, for example, maybe like a whole prawn. Sometimes he'll eat them like that. Sometimes he won't. And when he won't, I'll just give the prawn to this guy. He'll quite happily take it. Even quail eggs you can give these guys because they're quite a small egg, so they can swallow them. I'll offer him his second mouse now. You notice he always takes it back to that spot to eat it. Monitor lizards, especially ridgetails, they'll have a feeding platform. They'll just they'll work out where it is themselves, but that where he's eating right now is his feeding platform. Anytime I feed him anything, if it's something that's too big for him to just swallow in one go on the spot, he'll take it back to that little feeding platform and eat it there. So what he'll do with the feeding platform, because he can't swallow the food in one gulp, he'll take it back there, use that basically fake rock he's sitting on to push the food down his mouth. He'll rub his face on it. He'll push the mouse against the rock to help force it down his throat. So monitors will sometimes do that. They'll find a rock in your tank or a branch or a log in your tank that they like to use as a feeding platform, and they'll use that in that way. So that's basically him. That's all I really feed him. I don't like to give him more than 2. So yeah, we'll move on to the next animal now. Okay, so the next part of my collection that we're feeding today is these guys. Now this is basically my collection of scorpions and tarantulas and centipedes. I'm not going to feed them all in this video because we'd be here for over an hour. That's how long it takes me to feed them all, because on top of all these adults you can see at the front here, behind all them I got all small containers with babies in there as well, so yeah, it takes quite a while to feed them. So I'll just get a couple out to show you guys. So what we'll be feeding in this video, we'll be feeding my Centipede plumwipes, one of my larger tarantulas. I mean, he's still not fully grown, but he's getting there. This is also the one I use for feeding demonstrations in general. It's just my most placid one that always feeds when I put food in, so I'll feed him. And what else? Sorry guys, I've got to juggle these around a bit to get the ones out that I want. I'm just going to take these glass doors out actually, because they're in the way. You can hear that in the background, that whistling. That's my bird, in case you're wondering. He's just calling out to me. So we'll feed one of my tiger centipedes, and probably leave it at that actually, because I'm trying to find things that will feed basically feed the second I throw food in, which is the whole point of showing you guys. Most of this other stuff won't. The scorpions tend to just eat at night time when they're ready, so we're not going to do a scorpion one. So we'll just jump straight into that. Okay, so we're going to start off with the tarantula. So I'm just feeding him crickets. What I like to do is I like to keep my crickets in one of these. This is just a critter keeper. They're quite cheap. You can pick them up at most aquarium and pet shops for a few dollars. I get the largest size one. Reason I get the largest one is the height of the largest critter keeper is a bit taller than even a large cricket can jump, so that basically means I can have the lid off, I can be in there picking out the crickets I want to feed and not worrying about them escaping while I'm doing that, because trying to get an individual cricket out of a little cricket container is not easy. They all just jump out, so I just empty the whole thing into that. Makes it a lot easier. They can live in that. I just throw bits of carrot in if I want to keep them long term for a while, and that's really it. So yeah, we'll get straight into the feeding. And bear with me because I am doing all this one-handed, holding the camera. So hopefully nothing escapes on me. So open this first. Quite like the Centipede plum ups. I quite like the fluffy back legs they get. It looks quite nice on them. So yeah, anyways, I'll grab a cricket. Okay, here we go. As you can see, this guy's always a good feeder. Every time. So my routine for feeding all these guys is pretty standard, other than obviously taking every container out of that setup, opening them all up, throwing a cricket in. I do other things as well. Check that the substrate doesn't need any more water. I can do that just by looking at it. You can usually tell by looking whether the substrate's dry or not. Also, if there's condensation on the sides of the container, on the lid, that's a good indication that they're okay. They don't need any more water added, so that's the only other thing I really do. Like, honestly, these guys are the most low maintenance animal you can have. Like, I've got quite a large collection of them, and once a week to once a fortnight feed them. The amount I'm keeping takes 45 minutes to an hour and a half, depending on how fast I want to go, but that's the only real maintenance. Now what she's doing now, so at the moment she's just holding the cricket and pumping venom into it. The venom basically liquefies the cricket from the inside out, because spiders don't have teeth, so they can't chew. They can just drink. So she's hanging on to it, filling it up full, pumping venom into it. The venom digests the insect from the inside out, so it turns the insect's insides into liquid basically. So then all she has to do is drink the insides out and then discard of the outer skeleton when she's done. What most tarantulas will do is, once they've satisfied the cricket's dead and it's ready to eat, they'll actually spin a feeding mat. You can see little spinnerets going already. See little strands of silk coming out. She's already kind of getting ready for that. What that is, she'll take the cricket to a certain spot in the enclosure where she wants to eat. Because these spiders are very clean. They don't like to mess up their enclosure. They don't like to leave waste on their, near their burrow or around their burrow too much. So they'll either take it down into their burrow and do this there, but because she just feeds out in the open, she does it out in the open, she'll spin a mat on the ground and she'll feast on the cricket on the mat. And when she's done, she basically discards of the mat. So it helps keep the enclosure a little cleaner. But it looks like today she wants to eat like that. So yeah, anyways, we'll jump into the next insect now. Okay guys, now we're going to feed the giant tiger centipede. So, a little nervous about doing this one-handed, because he can escape out of this because of his length, and the container's not overly tall, but we'll see how we go. Alright, we'll see if this guy wants to eat. Well, that was a very aggressive response, but he completely missed. Let's hope he doesn't up and out while he's trying to catch this guy. So you'll notice that he has the cricket behind the head. All centipedes do this. They always go for the neck, just behind the insect's head. It's what's called the death grip. All centipedes do it. It's the only way they really do grab a hold of their prey. Should he grab the prey on a weird angle, he'll either let it go, or if he can use his body and his legs to maneuver the prey, he'll maneuver it around and then re-grab it just behind the head. Basically, it's a direct venom injection to the neck. And also, you know, it minimizes the risk of the prey being able to move or fight back and possibly hurt the centipede. So, yeah. And unlike the spider, which will wait for the venom to kill the prey and liquefy it, centipedes, unlike the spider, can chew. So, I'm sure he's injected venom into it, but as you can see, he's not even waiting. He's already just eating it. You can see his little mouth parts going. He's chewing away already. He doesn't even wait for it to die properly. He just starts eating it. So, quite voracious little predators, these guys. And unlike the spider, who will take at least an hour to eat that cricket, if not more, this centipede will have finished his cricket in about 15 minutes or so. And unlike the spider again, who will leave the outer shell when he's finished eating, the centipede eats virtually everything. So if you look, you can kind of see his little jaws there as well, the little fangs he's got. Little known fact about centipede fangs, they're not true fangs, they're actually modified front legs. So when the centipede is in the egg developing, those are supposable fangs, as you would call them, I guess. They were originally just legs while it was developing in the egg, and as the centipede's growing inside the egg and developing, those very front pair of legs end up turning into those fangs there. Which, because they're modified front legs, they're on a similar joint, attaching them to the body. It's very similar as to how the legs are. So what that means is they're very dexterous. Unlike the tarantula fangs, these are much more nimble and dexterous. They can bend them at different angles a bit more. So, yeah, it just means they can get a much better grip on their prey from different positions. Very strong muscles that power those jaws as well. If you get bitten by a centipede, you will feel it 100%. They got very strong jaws. Just the actual force of their fangs puncturing your skin. Yeah. You'll know it. I've been bitten by centipedes a few times. I mean, I've been bitten by tarantulas, stung by scorpions, but the centipedes are by far the most painful. And that's not talking about the venom, that's just the initial bite from their fangs. It's much worse than a spider. Because, I mean, their fangs aren't overly thin either. Look at that. That's, you know, imagine that puncturing into your arm. That's not a thin little needle that you can barely feel. You're going to feel that. So So as you can see, he's already eaten almost half of that cricket. The head's already gone, the thorax is gone, he's just nibbling away. Alright, we'll leave that there, guys. Don't want to bore you guys too much of this guy, and we'll move on to the next animal. Okay, so now we're just going to be feeding my little nano tank. So yeah, this is nothing exciting compared to a centipede or a spider. But this is more of a, well, little instructional thing for people feeding small fish. Mainly because the most common problem people come across, I've found, is overfeeding small fish tanks, because it's so easy to do. I mean, this tank's only 45 litres. So yeah, not a large amount of water. And a lot of people don't realise that, you know, a small amount of water is going to pollute very quickly and very easily. And it can happen just from overfeeding once. So standard rule for feeding is when you feed the fish, all the food must be gone within 30 seconds to a minute. You don't want leftover food. That's the main thing. Leftover food will cause ammonia quicker than fish waste will. Much quicker. So it's a small pinch of food, count 30 seconds to a minute, everything should be gone straight away almost. Well, within that minute basically. So that's basically why I'm doing this video on the small fish tank. So I'm feeding these guys just granules. So put some in. There we go. Taking these guys a while because the light only just came on a few seconds ago, so they're still kind of, yeah, half out of it, I guess. So once everything's gone, like now, if you want, you can feed them a little bit more. The best way to do it is just small amounts of food at a time. A little bit of food, let them eat it all. A little bit more, let them eat it all. Rather than a large amount of food at once. So I'll pop a little more in. Now there is one other fish in this tank you might have noticed that hasn't had anything to eat yet. And that's the African butterfly fish up the back there. So he won't eat the fish food, he eats crickets. So we'll go and give him a little cricket. But we'll see if he wants a cricket. Sometimes he doesn't eat. Here he goes. You probably didn't see that, but he got the cricket. It's quite a small cricket, so I'll give him one more. So African butterflies are a surface-dwelling fish. And yeah, you can get them eating pellets. I've had them before where they'll quite happily eat pellets, but this particular one, yeah, he doesn't like pellets. He won't eat them. Only crickets. So I have to give him crickets every now and again. These are ambush hunters. They just float around on the surface, not doing much, pretending to be a dead leaf. And when an insect falls in the water, then yeah, they eat it. Give him one more. Yeah, these crickets are quite little. Normally he gets much bigger ones, but that's all I've got right now. Alright, we'll move on to the last animal, guys. Okay, so last animal. As you may have guessed, I'm feeding my coastal carpet python. So yeah, I feed him once a fortnight, and well, basically this is what I feed him. I feed him two large rabbits, once every fortnight. So yeah, he's already ready. He can kind of smell them. Snakes have incredible sense of smell, so he just knows when he's getting fed before I even bring the rabbits in the room. He can just smell them. So yeah, we'll get straight into that one. Okay, so what I've done, I've basically attached my phone to the feeding tongs, so you guys get a good view of the feeding. That was a bit of a delayed response, but he grabbed it. So Python's being a constrictor. What he's going to do, he's just going to wrap that up and constrict it for a little while. Once he's satisfied that it's dead, he'll move around to the head and start swallowing. So pythons always swallow head first, as do pretty much all snakes. It's just easier to swallow something head first. The way that they constrict is, it's called asphyxiation. What they do, every time the animal takes a breath out, they squeeze a little bit tighter. He breathes out again, they squeeze tighter again. And eventually it gets to the point where the animal just can't expand its lungs anymore and it asphyxiates, basically just dies. That's when the snake then lets go and starts to feed. So they can also sense when it's dead. Pythons can feel the animal's heartbeat through their own body. They can just feel the vibrations of it. Once the heart stops beating, then they're basically satisfied that they've killed it. So they'll start eating it then. So I'm going to stop the video here and we'll come back in a little bit when he started actually eating it, because otherwise we're going to be here quite a while. So while we wait for the carpet python to finish eating, I figured I'd quickly show you the Matoro while he's out. Even though my catfish doesn't want to let you see him. Yeah, he's still got sand all over him, but yeah, only a little fella. Okay guys, so that's basically my little feeding routine video. Yeah, as you can see, he wants more. There is one more rabbit I have to feed him, that's why he's still kind of looking around for more. He knows there's one more to go. I'm not going to do that in this video, it'll just take too long. But yeah, this just gave you guys a little idea on my weekly to fortnightly feeding routines on some of my animals. I didn't do all of them in this video. I just don't have enough time, and the video would just stretch on way too long, so I might cover those animals in the next video. But yeah, regardless, I hope you guys enjoyed that, and thanks for watching. I'll also leave a link under this video for the Auburn Aquarium website, so if you want to purchase any products through that website, I'll leave a link under this video. Bearing in mind, we are an aquarium shop, so the way the website works is you purchase something on the website, and then you print off your receipt docket through the website after you purchase the item, and you come into the shop, we give you your item, and you go. That's basically it. It's not like, you know, overseas shipping or anything like that, so you have to be actual customers of Auburn Aquarium. Yeah, but anyway, I'll leave a link under this video for that. Also, I'll leave a link for the Auburn Aquarium Facebook, or you can just search it up yourself. It's just Auburn Aquarium and Pet Center, so just look us up, like us on Facebook. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video, guys. Cheers, and thanks for watching.